everyone, my name is Keely and I'm the owner and creator here at Soy and Shea, and thank you so much for joining me for another soap making video. Today I'm going to be making a soap using some real iconic Australian colours, which is the green and gold, and setting it against a backdrop of blue. And to complement that, I am using a fragrance oil called Golden Wattle by Aroma. Let's go and see how I make it. So we are ready to start this soap, and as usual I have my oil blend in the bucket that has come down to room temperature, and we've got a lovely room temperature 26 degrees today. And I have my sodium hydroxide and distilled water solution here with some Tussar silk in it to give it a little bit of silkiness. And I am going to very gently pour my solution down into my bucket here, avoiding any splashback. I'm going to use the whisk today to stir this in because we are working with Golden Wattle and it is a floral, and I really do not want this to accelerate too much on me as I want to create some really nice drop swirls. So let's get this stirred in. Alright, I'm really happy with how that is actually sticking together right now. So I'm just going to pop the whisk out the way for the moment. I am going to grab this little container here, which has got some Caribbean mica in, and I'm going to pour a little bit off into that one. Maybe a tad more. I don't want too much of the green. Get up all of that mess there, and I've pre-mixed my colours with some olive oil just so that they mix in easier and I don't have to do too much mixing before putting that fragrance in. In this one here I have some Extravagance Gold mica, just a little bit, and then I have some Wellington mica as well. So these two colours here are the very classic Australian green and gold colours. And into my big bucket, whenever you look up pictures of wattle, you see that green and the gold colour set against a brilliant blue sky background. So in here I have mixed a little bit of Capri Neon pigment powder. So it's not a mica, but it's a pigment powder instead. And I have also put in some Catalina Blue. Now to get as much of that pigment out, I'm going to put a bit of soap in there, give it a wash around and scrape it out. Also, by dipping that into the soap, it's going to make it much easier to clean that out. Just trying to clean the mica and oil out of that glass jar is going to be really hard. But now it's got that bit of soap in, it will saponify overnight and make it much easier to clean. Just actually stirred the colours in, and I will actually stick blend them in just a moment. I'm going to add the fragrance oil in first. You can see it's a really deep dark colour, so I have actually gone quite heavy with my blue colorant as well as the green, just to try and combat the yellowness of this fragrance oil. But now that I've got that in, I am going to give that a pulse with the stick blender to make sure that it is emulsified, and then we'll start pouring into the mould. This one is smelling so good. It's got notes of fir needle, there's eucalyptus in there, there is jasmine, a bit of petitgrain, rose petals and amber, and I definitely get that rose sort of smell. Even though there's actually no wattle in here, you do get that really sweet smell that you do find when you have the wattles in flower. Now this is thickening up, which I was very much expecting. So this is going to be, rather than a drop swirl, a bit more of a Plip Plop swirl, and we'll get some beautiful swirls by putting the hanger through as well. I was kind of hoping when I got this fragrance oil in, I got it in about the same time that Lee over at Wicked Lee got it in, and I was really hoping that she would make her soap before I did, so I could see whether or not this was a naughty fragrance or not. And this certainly is. It has definitely started to set in my pot here. So let's just get this Plip Plopped in, then I'll grab the hanger and hopefully we will get some nice swirls. About this fragrance oil is that it really did not like that green. It went it set up quite quickly and it went quite lumpy. The yellow is a little bit more fluid. Oh, just waiting for whoever that is to finish doing their angle grinding. But this blue, this has actually stayed, it's thick, but it's very pliable as well. So because we've got all those different textures in the soap, we hopefully should get some really nice swirls from that little hanger that I put in. I am going to have to give this a really good knockdown to make sure I don't have any air bubbles in there, but I've got high hopes for this one. So let me finish getting the blue on and then we will come back and we will do the top. Alright, so that is thankfully in the mold. Just to show you, this green, this is just a little bit that blew off to the side, that is set solid. So I'm glad I managed to get that into the pot with no of the dramas. So let's for now get some leaves on the top of this, and these are what we made in the behind the scenes video this week, and I'll leave a link up in that top right hand corner for you. Now all I'm going to do is I'm going to pop 2 leaves onto the top of each bar of soap here, and I'm going to put a big one and hopefully a little one as well, and then we're going to come back and we're going to do some piping work as well. So I'm going to get all of these leaves on here, and then I was going to do some piping with the yellow that I had left over, but looking at it, it has set up way too much to be able to do any piping. So I'm going to have to make up a very quick batch of heat transfer method of soaping so that I can actually pipe my wattles onto the top of each of these soap bars. Must be the smallest little batch of soap I have ever made. There was literally 50 grams of oils in there, but it has taken 40 minutes and it is now all set up and ready to pipe. I have a little closed star tip in here. Now this one doesn't have a brand or number on it. It's something I've had in a de-stash group. I used it in my succulent cacti one as well, but I've picked this one because it's going to give that really nice sort of fluffy look that a wattle might have. Wattles are generally really fluffy little yellow flowers, and all I'm going to do is pipe just a few of them at the top of these leaves on each of these bars. Now while I was waiting for this one to set up, I was kind of washing up, doing a few bits and pieces, and I got to really thinking, and the fact that this soap set up on me, it's no real big deal. I know a lot of people would have panicked and gone, oh my god, what do I do now? And for me it was just simple, just make some more soap and get on with it sort of thing. And as I was sort of washing up waiting for it to set, I really thought about how much that really reflects on the Australian way of life. Doesn't seem to matter how bad things get, we still seem to just carry on and make the best of what we've got and just move on to the next little thing. And the reason that really came into my head, as many of you know, we have got the most horrific bushfires down here at the moment. It's the worst I've ever seen here, and I've now been living in Australia for 30 years, and this is perhaps the worst bushfire season I have ever experienced. And I want to first of all say thank you for everyone that has been messaging me. Although we had a few scares before Christmas, where I am, all of the bushfires near us are under control and we are very safe. Most of the fires that you are seeing on the news are in states called New South Wales. There is Victoria and South Australia. For anyone that does want to look up a map of Australia, I'm in a state called Queensland. We're in the lower half of Queensland, but we are still a very long way away from these bushfires. It is truly devastating to see every night on the news just what is happening to our beautiful country and just how hard these firefighters are working to, you know, make sure that as few homes are lost as possible, trying to make sure that no more lives are lost. We have sadly lost the lives of not only firefighters but also Australians as well, who have been trying to save their homes and their businesses. But through it all you see so much resilience and so much just getting on with it. You see people who have lost their entire homes, businesses, their livelihoods, everything, and yet they are still out there helping other people who are being threatened with losing their entire livelihoods as well. We are a very resilient country. It is heartbreaking to see what is happening, but it is also very heartwarming to see just how closely knit we are as an actual country and how much we do like to help each other out. And just by, I know it's very silly, but just by seeing that soap set up and, you know, just thinking, well, I'll just get on with it, it just reminded me of just how good it is to be an Australian, especially at the moment, despite all of these fires. So I do want to say a big thank you to everyone again who has been sending those messages to me. Hopefully we do still remain safe, although this heat is certainly not letting up. I started soaping and it was 26 degrees in here, and it is now gone up into 29 just in that 1 hour, and it is very warm today. We can hear those heat bugs outside singing away, which means it's going to get even hotter, but we are thankfully very safe. What we desperately need down here is some good rain just to really soak the ground and help put out these fires. Alright, so I've only got a little bit of soap batter left in here, so let's just pop a couple of extra on these just so that we use it up and I don't end up with any waste. Lee, if you are watching this and you haven't yet tackled your golden wattle fragrance, just be aware it's possibly going to accelerate, though it might behave nicely in your recipe, but just in case, be aware, don't do anything too intricate with this one. Alright, so I have squeezed every last little bit out of there, and all I'm going to do is come in and just give a very light spray with my Extravagance Gold just to pick up the little markings of those little wattle flowers. I don't want too much, I just want it on those flowers, so I'm going very gently and carefully. Alright, so here is Golden Wattle up close. I am loving the top. It's come out just as I was hoping. Not so sure about the inside, but because that did set up super fast, I'm probably only going to have to leave this sit here for about 16 to 18 hours. Then I'll be able to cut it open and show you what it looks like on the inside. Alright, so let's get this very naughty bar of soap cut up and see what we've got on the inside here. It has set up nice and firm because it has moved so quickly. So let's get that lined up. I know I'm going to chop little bits of the leaves, but hopefully each bar will get a sort of little bunch of wattle and, you know, a good part of those leaves. We are almost through, and then we'll see if we manage to get any nice swirls on the inside. Alright, let's take a look at the inside here, and it hasn't really swirled. We have got some big blobs in there, but you know what? There is very few air pockets. There's only a couple of tiny ones in there, so, and I've still got soap at the end, so I'm not too worried about that. That side looks a little bit better. It looks almost like a jellyfish floating through water, and that is the top, the couple of leaves and a little bunch of wattle. Now the fragrance oil, as it's saponified overnight, it has really toned down. When I first made it, it was super strong, just like I had a wattle in flower in the garden. It has now actually really toned down, and I'm hoping it will pick up again as it sits on the curing rack, but it's probably a good thing that it has toned down a little bit in its strength, because wattles can be quite overpowering, and this now just has a real gentle, mild fragrance to it. That sort of swirl in that bar is not too bad. So there's the top of that one. These little bits of extra leaf I'm just going to pull off like so. Let's grab a couple more. So this is definitely a fragrance I'm going to avoid in the future. It is very, very hard to get those nice swirls. Probably ideal for doing a layered soap with, and definitely don't put it into any of your piping work. But it was to be expected because it was a floral fragrance, and they are notorious for accelerating. Alright, so let's grab these two here, and that's not too bad in there. I really like the swirls that have come up on those two bars. I hope you have enjoyed watching how I have made my golden wattle soap. If you did, why not leave me a thumbs up and any comments down below, and I will get back to you as soon as I possibly can. And until the next video comes out, I hope you have a great week, and I will see you then. Bye!